Hello friends, welcome to Anand Learning Studio. In this video of series Python Basic to Advanced, we will be learning about conditional statements in Python. Okay, so let's jump into the video. What conditional statements are? Now, whenever you are working with any programming language, be it Python, Java, or anything, there is a certain flow to your execution of code. Okay, in Python, when we talk about it's suppose a top-down approach and each of the line is read from left to right. So now when you are submitting a program to your interpreter will start interpreting your lines of code and it will start executing them. So in that flow, if you want to control that flow, okay, so suppose in general, if there are 10 lines of code and the order of execution is line 1, then line 2, then line 3, then line 4, then line 5, then line 6, and so on till line 10. All these lines will be sequentially executed. But suppose you want to control this flow, that at line number 5, based on some condition, you want to continue further, or if that condition is not met, maybe you want to go to line number 9, something like that. So in order to control that flow of your execution based on some condition, you take help of the conditional statements in Python. And what are these conditional statements available? If, else. So the else if we call as elif in Python. Now, for any conditional statements, whenever you are implementing conditional statements, there will be one mandatory thing. What is that? If is a mandatory block which will be the starting point of your conditional statement. If a certain condition is met, okay, so how we are writing the syntax will be if and then condition, that condition whatever you want to try it on, and then there will be a block of code for this if statement. Now what will happen whenever and suppose before this there are some lines of code above it, and then after this also there are some lines of code. Now basically what will happen here, your program will come executing these lines of code, and once it will reach the if condition, if statement, it will check for the condition. What condition you have mentioned? If this condition is true, only then it will enter the block of if, and then whatever is the block you want to execute based on that condition, that will be executed. Or else what will happen, if the condition is false, it will skip the block, it will not enter into the if block and it will directly come here, okay, and it will execute the remaining blocks. If the condition was true, it will execute this block and then it will come out and then again it will execute the remaining block. So now in Python the blocks are decided by indentation. Indentation means, see, all the lines of code will generally start with a zero space to its left. But suppose if you want to create a block like for a loop, for a function, or for any if statements, so when you are using IDE like Jupyter, like Visual Studio, PyCharm, anything, any kind of IDE, that will automatically indent whenever you have a if statement and then you have a colon, then automatically it will indent for you. But suppose if you are writing on a notepad or something like that, then you have, whenever you want to create a code, you have to indent yourselves, like you have to maintain some common spacing for that block. So suppose there are certain lines, block of code, block of, now these three lines are equally indented and they are again under the if, so they will be the if block. And again suppose you have a else thing, else, and then after colon again you want to create a block for else statement, then you will have again some lines of code for else. Okay, now these all are equally indented and this will comprise the else block and this will comprise the if block. Once the if block is done, it will come again. So you have, whenever you have to come out of the block, you have removed the indentation part. Be mindful, don't mix tabs and spaces. Don't like mix also the indentation, like somewhere you are using two spaces, somewhere you are using four spaces, somewhere you are using eight spaces to indent. Okay, so generally be consistent whether you are using two spaces, or generally if you are hitting a tab, then hit tab across your program, or if you are using a standard four spaces, then be consistent with four spacing throughout your program. It's not like, okay, in if block you are maintaining four spaces and else block you are maintaining eight spaces. No, don't do like that. Maintain the indentation space wherever whatever you are maintaining throughout the code. Okay, generally you should be maintaining four spaces, so that's just a suggestion. So again, let's get back to the if statement, conditional statement. So now what will happen in this case? The program will check for the condition. If the condition is true, it will go and execute this if block. If not, then okay, else block. For now we can remove it. Else block is not a mandatory block. If this condition is not met, then it will go and obviously execute normally the flow of code. But now, if you want to match too many conditions, like okay, whether you want to match if the number is greater than 100, okay, either it will be true or false. But suppose if it is false, then you want to match it, okay, whether it is greater than 50 or not. Okay, then again it might be true, maybe a number is 80, then it is less than 100 but greater than 50, or else it will be false, less than 50. Again, if you want to match, okay, whether it is now greater than 30 or not. So based on that, if you want to put multiple conditions together for just checking a certain variable, then you can use if, and then to put other conditions you can put else if, or elif like that. And then again, if all the if blocks are failing, or suppose they are false, and then you want to execute certain condition or certain block of code, then for that purpose you have else does not take condition, because else will be executed when everything else failed. Okay, so that's why else does not take any block. You simply say else and then the line of code. Okay, and for if and then elif, you write it like this, elif, and then you have to give some condition, and then you will have to say line 1, line 2, like that. And again, if you want to put some other condition, elif condition, and again there will be some line of code for this one, something like this. Okay, so that's how this is if elif else will work. If is a mandatory thing. Okay, if will be firstly evaluated thing in your program. If the if condition succeeds, it will ignore all the elif and else block, and it will again go back to the normal flow. If the if block fails, then it will check for the consecutive else if statement if they are there in the program. If they are not, it will look for else statement. If else statement is also not there, fine, it will go and execute. But if condition is failing and there are certain elif condition, it will check them one by one. So suppose this elif passed or this condition was true, it will execute this block and it will ignore these two blocks. If this is also false, this is also false, then it will go and check for this block. If this condition was true, it will execute this one, and then it will execute it will skip the else part. If all these three if condition fails, then it goes and execute else block. Okay, so we will understand more it when we will be doing some examples, but for now let's jump into the coding part. So now let me remove it, or let me comment it out, and maybe 1 second. Okay, so suppose I am writing some code, and let me put some print welcome, and then I have suppose a number, and this number is suppose 100 or 101, and then I want to check whether this number is greater than 100 or not. So I will say if the number is greater than, or maybe greater than or equal to also I can keep. Here for now I'm just keeping if the number is greater than 100, print more than 100. And now for now, let's just go and print a goodbye. So this particular code will just explain you that okay, if is the only mandatory thing for this conditional statement. If you are putting else, fine. No, if you are not putting, then also fine. And also we will come to know why we need an else block. So let's execute it. We will be getting welcome, and since the number is 101, it is more than 100, so the condition will be true, and it will go and execute the more than 100 thing, and then it will print the goodbye. But suppose if now the same thing is there, okay, but suppose now the number is 100, instead of 101 it is 91. Now what will happen? Welcome will be printed out, this line will be executed, so the num variable will be assigned a value of 91, and now it will check for the condition whether 91 is greater than 100, true or false. False. Once it is false, it will not go inside the if block. And what will it will do? It will simply print the remaining statement. So now you can see it only printed welcome and goodbye. Here it printed welcome, goodbye, and then along with that, whatever was the print statement inside the if block. Now, why we needed an if else block? If we want to return any information when the if condition is failing, okay, or we want to execute certain things if our if conditions are failing, then we should be putting that inside else block, okay, because the else block will only be executed when if condition fails. So now in the same example, let me again put it here, and let's print out an else statement. So now whether maybe the number was not more than 100, and if the number is not more than 100, I want to put a print statement like less than 100, and in this case I will be getting welcome, and now if block failed, it will go and execute the else block, and then the goodbye will obviously print it out. So that's why we use else block. So else block will help you to return some information or to print out some information when your if condition fails. Now when we need multiple if blocks, okay, when we need multiple if blocks. So let's again take the same example, and now let's put some more information like if number is greater than 100, print more than 100. If number greater than 91, or sorry 90, print more than 90. If number greater than 50, print more than 50. Okay, and now let's try and execute this. So here for the same number I am checking multiple conditions. I am checking for the same number. So if, and then else if also belongs to the same group. Okay, I could have written multiple if statement also, but that will completely be give you a different meaning. Okay, maybe we will see in some example when to use different multiple ifs, but here we are using if else if, because we are checking for the same condition or for the same variable, not for the condition. Basically we are checking condition for the same variable, so we have to group all these conditions together, and that's why we use if, else if and else. So let's execute this now. So if block will obviously fail, but it will go to else block? No, it will check the next if condition whether the number is greater than 90. Yes, it will execute. Let me put it 51 for now. Okay, it will also not go into this else if block. Then it will check whether the number 51 is greater than 50. Yes, it will print this else if block. And again, if the number would have 30 or something, it would have gone to the else block. So let's execute it, and now you can see welcome more than 50 and goodbye is printed out. But again, there is some flaw in this program. Okay, I will like recommend you to pause this video for a moment and just comment it out. What the program is like, what the flaw is. Okay, so let's continue and talk about the flaw. The flaw is, suppose the number is 101. The number 101, is it greater than 100? Yes. Is it greater than 90? Yes. Is it greater than 50? Yes, 101 is greater than 50 also. Then which of the conditions will be evaluated? So obviously 101, when first evaluated with the if condition, and if the if condition is true, obviously it will execute the if block and it will ignore all the other blocks. But what if my program is written like this? If number is greater than 50, more than 50, and if number is greater than, else if number is greater than 100, more than 100. I am using the same condition evaluations. The only thing I have changed is the sequence of evaluation. Okay, all those things I'm here also I'm checking. So whether the number is greater than 50, whether the number is greater than 90 or 100, all those things. But the sequence of evaluation changed here. Now, what will happen in this case? The number 51, or suppose the number 101 is there. Whether the number 101 greater than 50? True. Once the if condition is true, it will execute this thing and it will ignore the remaining thing. Although I was expecting this block to be printed out, but it will ignore. And now I will get more than 50 and goodbye. So how we can correct this type of mistakes? We can correct it by bounding or by creating boundaries. Okay, so we have learned about the logical operators in our operators section. Okay, so you can go and check that video where we have learned about different kinds of operators, and in that operator section we have something called logical operator. And logical operator we can use to create multiple conditions and grouping those conditions together. So here I can say if number is greater than 50 and number less than equal to 90, since the next condition I am putting on 90, so I am putting if the number is greater than 50 and less than equal to 90, then only put this print this execute print block more than 50. Similarly here I am saying if number is greater than 90 and number is less than equal to 100, print more than 100. And here obviously I can put boundary here also, but suppose if I'm keeping it like this only, and then I have else statement doesn't take any condition. Now what will happen when your program will start executing? It will first check number 101. Okay, is 101 greater than 50? True. But is 101 less than equal to 90? False. So true and false will obviously become false. Here if there would have been or operator, the result would have been different. Okay, again I will recommend you, if you are confused about logical operators, go and check my operators video. Okay, and you will, I have explained it in great detail over there, and you can see here the final output will be false because one of the statement was true, another statement is false. True and false will give you false, and that's why this block will not be executed. It will come here, number 101 greater than 90, true. But is 101 less than or equal to 100? No, neither it is less than nor it is equal to 100. So this block will also not be executed. Now the next block, if it is 100 more than 100, yes. So now even though the sequence is different, now it will not matter and I will get the correct output. Welcome more than 100 and goodbye. So that's how you can define the boundaries in conditional statement. It will be a very important thing. Okay. Now let's see few more things in conditional statement. We can create a nested conditional statement also. Like suppose again in this thing only I have something called print welcome, then I have a number, and this number can be anything. Okay, suppose here I'm keeping for the sake, I'm just keeping 51, And now I want to check if number is greater than 50 and number is less than equal to 100. I want to check whether the number is, first of all, I'll put a print statement, print, and less than 100. And now I want to apply one more check. Once it is in this block, inside this block I can put again anything. I can put a loop, I can put another conditional statement. So now I want to check whether the number you have entered, if it is in this block, whether it is even or odd. So now I will check if number modulus 2 equals to 0, print it is even number. Again, if it is not even, I will put that in else statement, print it is an odd number. And again here the next thing I will check, else if number greater than 0 and number less than equal to 50, I can put again the same thing. I can do the same thing. Here I can say greater than 0 and less than 50, and obviously if it is even I can put even or odd, and at last I can say else print you have entered a number either less than 0 or more than 100, something like this. Okay, so now in this case what is happening, we have a if block. Okay, first of all the outermost if block will be executed and it will check what is the number and which condition matches. Whatever condition will match, it will go inside the if or else if, and inside that again you can see you are doing some evaluation. You have some conditional statement whether the entered number is even or odd. So that's what is you are doing. That's how you can achieve a nested statement. So this particular if and else will only be executed when you are inside this if block. This particular, again, this inner if else will only work when you are inside this else if block. So that's why they are called nested statement. Let's execute it. Okay, I think I have given some syntax error. Okay, if number modulus 2 equals to 0. Okay, I think there is some print. Okay, sorry. That's what the problem of indentation is. In Jupyter Notebook, although it will not show, but in other IDs it will show. So here, there I by mistake I have given a space over here, and that's why it was creating an issue. Let's execute it, and now you are getting the answer. So welcome greater than 50 and less than 100. Okay, and also it is an odd number because after once it was inside this block, it again evaluated these two conditions, and since 51 is an odd number, it will do that. And let's put one goodbye also, print goodbye. Okay, so that's how you can use nested if nested conditional statement. Now, few minutes back we discussed when we can use multiple if statement. Now, when you want to group condition evaluations for the same variable, like okay, you want to check for this particular variable whether it is like this or not, then you can put if else if else if else if not. But when you have certain things like the conditions evaluation are independent of each other, okay, like you have some variable called day, and day can be anything. Suppose it is Monday, And now you want to check if day equals to Monday. Okay, then you have to take do certain routines. But now the if the day is Tuesday, it does not matter. It is again a separate rule itself. That rule will not have any impact on this. So whether it is Monday or not, it will do something print Monday, and again you can put another if statement. If day equals to Tuesday, print Tuesday. Now in this case, first of all, it will evaluate whether the day is Monday or not. If it is Monday, it will do that. Again, it will go and check, although it has evaluated, but again, since there is another if statement, it will consider it as a separate evaluation. Okay, separate condition matching. And now it will check whether the day is equal to Tuesday. Again, if it is true, it will print that, or not, it will not print that. So you can use multiple if statement also, but those if statement will be all evaluated independently. They will not be dependent on each other. They are not grouped thing. Okay, so when you have to do a grouped evaluation on a certain variable, you can use it. But let's execute it, and now let's see, you have got this Monday printed out. So you can use multiple if statements also, and for each of these if statement you can put else and other things also. So that's about the conditional statement in Python. Hope you enjoy this video. Please comment if you have any suggestions or any questions for me. Thank you. Let's meet in another video.